Welcome to our last Friday 5 of 2024 here on the Agent Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Ruppel, and this is our weekly list of 5 things you should know about. This week, we are taking a look back at our top episodes of the past year, and we'll be revealing the top 5 as we move through this episode. We cover a lot of different topics as the year progresses, and that makes for a couple different types of episodes on the show. Audio adaptations of our blog posts, interviews, news, the Friday 5, agent apps, and Monday motivation, to name a few. And the content in those episodes ranges from breaking news to more evergreen information that we update on a regular basis as dollar amounts and policies change. We might be a podcast for insurance agents, but we still have quite a bit of range to our content, even within that niche spectrum. This year, it's an interesting mix of episodes, and like last year, we've compiled them into a supercut episode with chapter codes so you can navigate around a little easier. As we count down to our number 1 episode of the year, we've included a little introduction for context. So without further ado, we'll start out at number 5. Over the past year, we've gone through the Ritter blog's Ultimate Agent Guide lists, breaking down that content into digestible episodes that focus on one type of communication. This adaptation was the most popular of those episodes, and before we get into it, I do want to add in the reminder that our guide episodes are recommendations only. We don't make a guarantee of results because, quite frankly, we can't guarantee that kind of thing. Your mileage may vary, but here's the number 5 episode of 2024, The Agent's Guide to Email Communication Resources. We send and receive emails every day. Email is a great way to keep in touch with clients. And it's also useful for marketing your services and building your brand. Agent's Guide to Email Communication Resources, written by Isabel Vitale and Tina Lamoureux. Although people over 65 are texting more and more, email is still an extremely popular mode of communication for your clients. In fact, almost 86% of Americans over 65 use email. Email communication is ideal for general correspondence, scheduling and following up with appointments, non-time sensitive questions, sending automated messages, and educational and instructional materials. In this episode, our recommendations center mostly on what to write and technologies that allow you to easily bulk send and automate email workflows. If you have an established business, you probably already have a separate professional email address. If you're starting out as an agent and are looking for tools to get established, we also have recommendations for email hosting, which can transform your email from yourbusinessname@gmail.com to yourname@yourbusinessname.com. Not only does such an email address make your business look more official and legitimate, but also signing up for certain email hosting services will unlock a full menu of business features and services. Since email is a form of communication, there are CMS compliance rules that go along with it. Make sure you follow the rules regarding bulk and commercial email, including CMS guidelines and the CAN-SPAM Act. Although you don't technically need to obtain permission to contact for emails, your client will probably appreciate you asking if email is a preferred mode of communication. To stay compliant through marketing or bulk emails, here are a few reminders. When applicable, make it clear and identify your email as an ad, and avoid deceptive or misleading header information and subject lines. The purpose and intention of your emails should be straightforward. When emailing, tell recipients where you're located, and always include the third-party marketing organization or TPMO disclaimer and the option to opt out of receiving emails on all emails. So if you're sending a mass email to all your clients about the upcoming AEP, follow all the rules we just went over. If you're emailing a specific client to check in after an appointment, you may not need to follow all of them. Just make sure you include the TPMO disclaimer. The audience and intent of the email make the difference. When in doubt, follow the rules. If you want to review more guidelines, you can find resources in the episode notes. In addition to the guidance we've just mentioned, there are a couple other things to have in mind as you're utilizing email. Mass emailing applications should automatically include relevant business information and an opt-out section in the footers of their email templates, since they also have to follow the CAN-SPAM Act. Simply enter in your business information and edit the footer to include the TPMO disclaimer. If you're not using a bulk email application with a templated footer, make sure you include the option to opt out. Your mass emailing application should also have reporting functions that show you who unsubscribes. Set a reminder on your calendar to check this report periodically and honor opt-out requests across all your emailing platforms. To simplify the opt-out process, consider only utilizing one mass emailing tool. If you're wondering about cybersecurity for emails, we will be publishing an episode that covers cybersecurity and organizational resources in the future. So be sure you're following along with the podcast to get notified about new episodes. Without any more delay, here is our list of recommended email communication services. We categorize them by the services they offer and ideal business type. The first three applications, Google Workspace, Zoho Email, and Microsoft 365, are ideal for email hosting, app integration, creating a custom domain name, and suitability for both individual agents and agencies. We've talked about Google Workspace before on the podcast. It has a wide range of apps, including what most of us are probably familiar with, Gmail. Google Workspace also supports HIPAA compliance with a business associate agreement. It has tiers for different budgets and needs, with a 14-day free trial if you want to try it out before you buy. The program allows for integration with Microsoft apps like Teams and Word. Google Workspace includes lots of storage regardless of tier. The lowest tier has 30 gigabytes of pooled storage per user. You can access Google Workspace across different devices using the app or web browser versions. With the addition of the other Google Suite apps like Google Drive and Google Sheets, you can organize and automate other areas of your business. If you're looking for a well-rounded digital workspace, consider Google Workspace. Next, we have Zoho Mail. This app supports HIPAA compliance with a business associate agreement as well. A unique feature in Zoho Mail is offline and mobile access to email. And if you ever get lost in email threads, Zoho Mail has a solution for that called Streams. Email streams make email chains easier to follow and allow for liking and commenting on emails. Zoho has their own suite of business apps that can be integrated together, including Zoho Mail. It's also very affordable, with their lowest plan starting at $1 per month at the time of this recording. Also included, an AI assistant for generating content. Just remember to stay compliant, especially when using any type of AI. And just a quick side note here about AI. Using AI tools is great for general email content, like content for newsletters or event announcements for email blasts. But always be careful to proofread them before hitting send. Never use AI to create content using sensitive client information, like PHI or PII. Those emails should not go through any type of AI program. Moving on, this one is the one you're probably most familiar with, Microsoft 365. Like Google Workspace and Zoho Mail, Microsoft 365 also supports HIPAA compliance with a business associate agreement and can integrate with other Microsoft apps. It has different tiers for a variety of budgets and needs, and each tier offers a generous amount of storage. The program is available for desktop apps, mobile, and web browser access. You can create a free Microsoft Outlook email and calendar account for one person. It will have limited features compared to the full Microsoft 365 suite, but it gives you the ability to try the program out for yourself. And depending on your needs, the free plan may be right for you. The next 3 email apps are Squarespace, MailChimp, and Constant Contact. All 3 offer self-service technology, automation, and templates. They are ideal for mass emails like newsletters, seasonal reminders, office closures, and holiday and birthday wishes. Let's look at Squarespace first. One unique feature: when you already host a website using Squarespace, you can carry over designs and add them straight to your emails. This option offers many sleek and customizable email templates. With Squarespace email marketing, you'll have access to audience management tools and analytics. Squarespace has several plans for different budgets and has the option to pay monthly or annually. If you'd like to try it out for yourself, there is a free trial. Next up, MailChimp. This email marketing program offers SMS texting as an add-on option. That's a great feature if sending out mass text messages to clients is one of your objectives. MailChimp has a free tier that has limited reporting and analytics, email support for the first 30 days, 1 audience group, and 1 user. The number of emails you can send is also limited, but if you have a smaller client base or are just starting out, the free version might be a good place for you to begin. MailChimp can integrate with Canva, a graphic design platform that we'll talk a little bit more about soon. In MailChimp, every tier comes with customizable forms and landing pages for your email campaigns. The AI Content Assistant is still in beta mode. Just a reminder about what we mentioned earlier: be cautious using AI to create content. And we do have an episode all about using AI compliantly with social media. We will have that linked in the episode notes for you. Let's get into Constant Contact. They offer 3 paid tiers to choose from. With Constant Contact, you can easily create email templates by dragging and dropping design assets. A feature that makes them stand out from the rest is something called Brand Kit. When you share your website URL with Constant Contact, the program will generate something called a Brand Kit. This is a folder of assets from your website, like logos, colors, and images. Having all of those assets in one place saves a lot of time and helps your emails look uniform across the board. This also streamlines the process if you hire a freelancer to help with your email marketing. Then all of the creative files can easily be shared. Constant Contact has a long list of elements for email marketing. Highly suggest going to their website to view the full list of features. Now, we briefly mentioned Canva a little bit ago, and while it is not an email hosting site, it is great for pre-made and custom templates. You can create a Canva account for free, and the free version has a library of millions of templates for emails, posters, presentations, thank you notes, holiday and birthday cards, logos, and more. Even if you choose a pre-made template, you can customize it to your liking. Once you create a design, you can save it to your computer to use digitally or have materials printed and shipped to you. If you want to access a larger library of templates, tools, storage, brand kits, and more, there are 3 paid tiers to choose from. Every paid plan comes with a free trial, so you can test out Canva as well. These next 2 are distinctive because they were made specifically for insurance agents: Agent Methods Amplify and Agency Block. Agent Methods is an official Ritter insurance marketing partner. Their program, Amplify, is an automated insurance marketing platform. It sends automated mass emails and social media posts, can schedule appointments, and has a library of content created by insurance experts that you can share with your clients. It can integrate with apps like Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, Agency Block, Zoho, and more. It is an extremely hands-off platform, which is ideal if you don't have a lot of time or energy to devote to email marketing, but still want to expand your audience reach. Next is Agency Block. Besides having an automated email service, their platform has a robust CRM with tools to make your job as an agent easier. They offer insurance-specific email templates for different occasions, including policy updates and client retention. The Agency Block suite features commissions processing and a quoting engine, among other features that streamline an agent's workflow. If you want to learn more about the services Agent Methods and Agency Block provide, they each offer demos of their programs. We will have the links to those sites in the episode notes. We are in the home stretch, the last 2 resources we're talking about today: Reminder Media and Ritter Insurance Marketing. Reminder Media is fantastic for mass emails like newsletters. This is another service where you can choose how much you want to be involved, a little bit or completely hands-off. Reminder Media creates content for you and brands it to your business. They offer custom landing pages, digital versions of their magazines, social media automation, and more. You can visit their website to learn more and also get a demo of their services. Finally, we have Ritter Insurance Marketing. That's us. You can register with Ritter for free to gain access to our email marketing and client retention services. We offer insurance-specific email templates that are designed in-house, pre-made articles to share with clients through newsletters, and compliance is at the forefront of everything we do. All of our content and marketing materials adhere to CMS communication guidelines. And we are always happy to answer questions that you might have. Now, I know we covered a lot of information in this episode, from programs and platforms that are completely hands-on to programs that are entirely automated. Remember, self-service technology will cost less, but require more effort, while more full-service options will be the opposite. You may find yourself employing several tools for email communication, from a simple Gmail or Microsoft inbox when emailing a specific client to one of these resources for email blasts or automated campaigns. Whether you pick more of a full or self-service option, that will depend on your budget, interests, and your available time. Another quick thing I do want to mention. Although your current CRM, say for instance Ritter's platform, might not integrate with an email application, sending a mass email to your clients might be as simple as downloading your client list to a .csv file and then uploading that file to your email provider. If you want to build more detailed email lists, for example, all your clients in a certain carrier's Medicare Advantage plan, you can still download via a .csv file and then filter to find the clients you want to upload. If you send email blasts regularly to certain groups, we do recommend adding or deleting any emails from the mailing list immediately upon status change as necessary. We will link to a few tutorials on creating and uploading these types of files in the episode notes as well. Moving on to number 4. This episode is an important one to think about this time of year, as most of us are looking back at what went well during the past year. And rather than trying to forget about what didn't go well, as much as we might want to do that, it's more beneficial to analyze the full spectrum through a SWOT analysis. Here's using a SWOT analysis to review your insurance business. Now is the time to get organized and review your options so you can plan what comes next. Using a SWOT analysis to review your insurance business, written by Sarah Ruppel. We are moving from the busy season to the season of reviewing, organizing, and planning. In our last episode, we mentioned quite a good deal of information to think about as a Medicare agent wrapping up your AEP, and things to think about for next year. Today, I want to talk about an efficient way to organize that information and insight. And that is with something called a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then in order to complete the analysis, you need an objective or something to analyze. For the sake of this example, we'll be doing a high-level analysis of our insurance business. Next, you'll want to create a way to record your analysis. There are a couple ways of doing this, and I'll start with my favorite. Segmenting a page into 4 equal quadrants. They can be squares or rectangles, but you want them in a 2x2 grid. Then assign one step of the analysis to each of those quadrants as follows. Top left, strengths. Top right, weaknesses. Bottom left, opportunities. Bottom right, threats. With our insurance business in mind, we then go through and make lists of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, adding those notes in the appropriate quadrant. There's no real starting point for this process because as you go, you'll likely find that you need to add items to lists in other sections. The reason I suggest mapping them out in grid form is that I like having visual organization in addition to text. It helps me when I'm planning, so I can see the details in addition to the bigger picture. But you do not have to do that. You could just as easily create 4 notebook pages, one for each of the SWOT words, and organize your thoughts that way. There's more than one way to format a SWOT analysis. Because of that, we will have the link to a few helpful templates in our notes so you can find the one that works best for you. Let's talk a little bit more about what you should be thinking about as you consider the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in relation to your insurance business. Number 1, strengths. What does your insurance business do well? What are your differentiators? What sets you apart from other insurance businesses? What resources go along with those strengths? Is it a certain plan presentation style that enables you to write dental, vision, and hearing policies alongside Medicare business? Maybe it's a downline agent who has a great retention rate with their clients. Strengths can include strategies, processes, mindsets, even concepts like intellectual property. They can be proprietary technology, actual technology that you can hold, specific devices, even people. This is an internal assessment of what you're doing well with the resources you currently have. While this step might seem a bit like a glorified pat on the back, there's a reason for recognizing your strengths. You'll be able to pull out details of why those strengths work so well. Maybe it's a process or strategy that you can then implement somewhere else. Don't get too caught up in the why. Just get the what down on your list for now. As you move through your strengths, it's very likely that you'll spark some thoughts about the next part of our analysis. Number 2, weaknesses. If the last step was an internal snapshot, this step looks both ways, internally and outside of your insurance business. What's missing from your insurance business? What are your competitors doing better than you? Are there limitations to the resources you have? Maybe it's a lack of a particular resource or a need to replace a resource. Have you differentiated yourself from your competitors? Or is it hard for prospective clients to know why they should choose your insurance business? Again, really high-level items here. You don't want to get too into the details of why or how to fix things here. Just jot down weaknesses. And for a word of caution with this step, be kind to yourself as you complete it. There's no need for a scathing negative review of your business. Don't pretend you're on the judgiest episode of Shark Tank. And also don't go the Eeyore route either. Beating yourself up or getting caught up in the emotions of your weaknesses is not going to help you. We're here to identify and then on to the next one. And that is number 3, opportunities. What do you hope to achieve? Maybe after taking a look at your AEP data, you realized that people were interested in a product that wasn't in your portfolio. Maybe a new hospital is coming to the local area, and that means a new network of choices to learn about. Take a look at your weaknesses. How can you use what you've identified and turn it into an opportunity for your business? Did you have an issue with a printer during AEP? Consider looking into paperless enrollment options, like what we offer here at Ritter Insurance Marketing. Maybe it's starting a culture-related social media presence to get your name out into the community. This is the time to get some of those ideas down on paper that you've been having throughout the year. And as you work through each of the steps, you'll see the process start to come together. Number 4, threats. While having dreams and goals comes easily, you want to be practical and realistic in your planning. This step is about taking those dreams, goals, and identified opportunities and critically looking at whether or not you can move on them. And same caveat as with the weaknesses step. Don't get discouraged by your emotions here. This is the place to get a high-level idea of business risk down on paper. You want to identify threats because you can't fight your enemy if you don't know who or what that enemy is. What obstacles are standing in the way of your opportunities? Threats can be as simple as a product or carrier you did not have in your portfolio, or they could be larger, like implementing new technology into some of your processes. Maybe during this AEP, you used a service that didn't quite work out. This is the chance to identify those issues that came up during AEP and figure out how to reclaim the money it left on the table. Maybe it's not technology related. Let's go back to that new hospital coming to town. What if you're not contracted with the biggest carrier in their network? That's a threat you can mitigate by getting that particular contract. And last example here, we talked about social media. Maybe you have that social media presence and you're active in your community, but you haven't joined those two concepts together. It might take time and additional work to create that presence, but you want to get on that before your local competitors beat you to it. What you decide to analyze using this method is really up to you. As I mentioned earlier, you can start out high level with your business. Then you can delve into your selling portfolio. You can look at a social media presence, partnering with an FMO like Ritter, or adding technology to your business. The SWOT analysis is a great way to make decisions deliberately, ensuring that you've truly thought through the process. We will have the links to some examples and those SWOT analysis templates I mentioned earlier in our notes for you. Next up, while we do tend to talk and think about insurance as a full-time career, that's not always the case, and it's not always how some of us got into the field. One great thing about the insurance industry, at least from my perspective, is that you can give it a go part-time before you decide to switch your career path. It's a big decision to make. And coming in at number 3, we have 5 perks of being a part-time insurance agent. What if you could give being an insurance agent a practice run before giving up your full-time job? We talk about the benefits of starting out slowly in 5 Perks of Being a Part-Time Insurance Agent, written by Lauren Hayden and Emily Ryan. If diving headfirst into a new profession isn't quite your style, we understand. New beginnings can be a little scary. Maybe you're thinking of entering the insurance industry full-time, but you don't want to jump in full swing. Or maybe you have some extra time and skills you'd like to invest in a new craft. Either way, we've got you covered. Consider the benefits of being a part-time insurance agent. First on our list, you will have the chance to explore the industry. One huge perk of becoming an insurance agent part-time is you can see if this is a good fit for you with minimal risk. You may end up saying, nope, not for me, and if so, no harm, no foul. Many career paths don't even offer a part-time option, but lucky for you, the insurance industry encourages it. By selling insurance part-time, you can learn which carriers and products you prefer to sell and begin developing lasting relationships with clients. If you have friends or family members who need Medicare plans, helping them get coverage is a great place to start. Selling to someone you're already comfortable around may help to prepare you for future meetings with other clients. You may find that the insurance industry can be a very profitable way to work for yourself, have a flexible schedule, and help the people you work with. A part-time insurance business is a great way to dip your toes in the water and find out if it's right for you. The second benefit, you can keep your day job. Another great advantage of selling insurance part-time is that you don't have to quit your day job. Essentially, you can make your own schedule and work around your other commitments. In fact, you may even find that many clients prefer having appointments in the evening or on weekends, leaving your weekday 9-to-5 job unaffected. If you choose to keep your old job, we'd recommend picking a few days or times during the week to devote to your insurance business. Aim to keep those hours as a schedule. Then, let clients know when you'll be available to help them to avoid potential frustrations. You don't want your clients to get upset with you if you can't take their call due to you being at your other job. If you have children or a busy schedule in general, a part-time insurance business can allow you to earn extra money while enjoying time with your family or participating in the activities you may have missed out on. Benefit number 3, earn supplemental income. Looking to make some extra cash on the side? Now is the perfect time to start selling insurance. While we would never recommend going into any profession solely for the money, some people do enjoy earning something a little extra on top of their primary income. As long as you're in it for the right reasons, you should be able to find success and enjoyment within your career. When selling insurance, the majority of your earnings will come from commissions. What does that mean for you? Well, it's your call how much time and energy you want to invest into insurance sales and how much money you want to make. When you want to earn more and push your insurance career forward, you can add new carriers or product types to your portfolio. Here at Ritter Insurance Marketing, we offer a free portfolio review with our sales team to see what options are right for you. The fourth benefit on our list: help your community. Health insurance offers the security that everyone needs at some point of their life. While working as an insurance agent part-time, you can help a wide group of people find the coverage they need to protect themselves physically and financially. Consider offering Medicare plans to seniors or ACA products to help individuals in your community that are under 65. As a part-time insurance agent, you'll have the opportunity to help family, friends, neighbors, and others close to you and earn a living while doing it. Number 5, feel empowered by the work you do. Being a part-time insurance agent doesn't mean you have to go it alone. Even if you become an independent agent, which I wholeheartedly recommend over being a captive agent. We say it a lot in this industry. Just because you're in business for yourself doesn't mean that you're in business by yourself. There's a difference, and one way to not go it alone is to take advantage of the different types of professional organizations that can assist you every step of the way. And the second is with a field marketing organization like ours, Ritter Insurance Marketing. When you're just starting out, we can teach you how to get appointed with health insurance companies and get set on your path to success. And you don't need to be a full-time agent to work with us. Even as a part-time agent, you'll still have access to all of the tools, resources, webinars, and more. Ritter's support and technology can assist you in many facets of your career and help to shape you into a highly motivated, well-rounded agent. Bottom line, working as a part-time agent allows you to really hone in on the kinds of plans your clients want and what you should offer. Be sure to gain as much as you can from this experimental period. You may find you'd like to make insurance a full-time gig. And if you do, reach out. Whichever path you end up choosing, you can succeed if you put your best foot forward. Continuing on with our list, we are now at the number 2 episode. This one came at a very poignant time for our industry. At the time of its publication, we were still awaiting the 2024 final rule. We wouldn't get that until April 5th, 2024. And even then, we still needed clarification on quite a few questions for agents to really know how to move forward. We've always been big proponents of client retention here on the show, regardless of what industry you're in. If you're in the business of sales, you're going to do better if you keep your clients, continuing to serve them and delight them year after year. So it's no surprise that our conversation with Blake Amos made it into our top 5 episodes of the year. Here's Developing a Retention Mindset. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Blake.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to the discussion.
We know that you're at Cigna Healthcare. You obviously work in the retention side of things now, but how did you get started in the industry? What made you interested in insurance in particular?
Yeah, so when I was in grad school, I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare space. I could see that the industry had a lot of opportunity. It impacts individuals at such a deep level. I knew that the work in the healthcare industry could be really meaningful to me, and hopefully I could add value to the industry. And so when I was in grad school, I actually thought, I was really looking more on the provider side, looking for opportunities in that space, and then identified an opportunity within Cigna about 11 years ago to come in through a leadership development program. And this program gave me the opportunity to see different areas in the company, see kind of how everything works together, and see really the payer side of the industry, especially in the Medicare Advantage space. I really liked the managed care space and the resources that we wrap around customers and how important the individual customer is to our business. And so that's kind of how I got started with Cigna. I held a variety of roles. Most recently, I led our market and product expansion efforts for about 4 years. So I think coming into that role, we were just under 20% of the addressable market nationwide. And so after close to 4 years, we were just under 40% of the addressable market. So significant growth over that time. I think today we're at 45% of the addressable market. So we've had significant growth overall as a Medicare Advantage company, but with that comes a lot of challenges as well. So I like to say that I inadvertently created myself a new role because in all of these new markets where you have less brand awareness, fortunately for us with the Cigna brand, people were aware of Cigna, but not necessarily that Cigna offers Medicare Advantage products. That was new. We had less mature provider and broker relationships and even new types of customers coming in. So during that time, we also started offering PPO products for the first time. And so with all this new growth, we have less tenured customers. That created a lot of headwinds for us and retention challenges. And so about 2 years ago, I actually took this role leading customer retention and hopefully can make a positive impact there.
Right. It's interesting just how you went through the different steps and roles there. I love the fact that you really identified that there was this issue of having people stay on, and you created a role around that. I think a lot of companies have seen that happen recently, that not only is retention important to us as business owners, agencies, agents, but it's also really important for the customer, for the client. So let's maybe talk about just a brief definition of what exactly is client retention. What are we referring to when we say that?
First and foremost, it's building relationships with customers that drives loyalty and trust. I think at the end of the day, it's the difference between transactional and relational. And if you think about the customer journey for Medicare customers, healthcare decisions can be very emotional. And it's really important for customers to have someone that they can trust throughout that process, that they know is looking out for their best interest. And thinking about what client retention is, I think retention efforts start at the shopping experience and at that point of sale. It's, listening and understanding customers' needs. It's continuing throughout the life cycle, trying to provide that personalized guidance, knowing that customers' needs are going to change over time. I think while we continue to strive to improve our efforts as a health plan, the agent is in a unique position to really provide this value to customers. And that's why I think it's such an important thing for agents to be focused on. And one of the things I love about my role being able to lead customer retention for Cigna is that it's all about being hyper focused on the customer. It's understanding what are the pain points that customers are going through, what are the different steps in the customer journey, and then, driving initiatives to improve the overall customer experience. And I think, whether it's in my seat or the agent's seat, ultimately client retention is doing what's best for the customer, and then your retention results will follow.
Right. So I think you got into a little bit of this with your answer there with the definition of client retention, talking about some of the reasons why retention is so important. But I love that you have such a focus on the client in your answer, because I think we sometimes talk about focusing on, the needs of the client from a compliance standpoint and making sure, you're crossing all those T's, dotting your I's. This really takes the focus away from technicalities, the insurance products and the compliance side of things, and really puts a focus back onto that really human aspect of insurance. And like you said, that connection with the person that we're ultimately trying to help have a better healthcare outcome. Any other things that you would like to highlight as far as why you believe retention is so important for agents to be focused on?
Yeah, you hit on a lot of key items there. Retention is so important because it can be a win-win-win for the health plan, the broker, and most importantly, the customer. Really starting with the customer, I like to say there really is a cost of switching. Obviously, agents need to make sure that customers continue to be in the right plan and that they're in the right plan for them. And each year plans do change, and that's not always the case. So switching plans is not a bad thing. But I think it's important to note that there is a cost associated with that. I mean, I put myself in the customer's shoes nowadays. And again, healthcare is really complex. You're coming into a new plan. You've got to learn a new portal. You need to figure out, based on all of the different supplemental benefits, who to call for what vendor to call, how the health plan processes work, who's in the network, who's out of the network, all the formulary type of stuff. So the customers that are switching plans every year, I feel like is really a disservice to themselves a lot of times. And so I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And I think, as the health plan, it's really important that we keep customers with us, because the more information that we have about the customer, the better we're able to understand their health needs, the more resources, clinical programs we're able to put in place to help that customer, stay healthy. And then for the broker as well, there's, obvious reasons that I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but it's consistent income. It's building a loyal base that's ultimately going to lead to referrals. I really think it's a win-win-win when we do retention right, and when we get customers in the right plan, when the carrier is meeting the customer's expectations, we can all win with retention. And I think with the study that DEF just came out with, the AEP shopping and switching study, they showed that it's the highest switching rate in 8 years. And so if you're not focused on retention efforts throughout the customer journey, someone else is going to come in and try to do that. And so it's really important to grow your book that way.
It's funny that you say preaching to the choir. I feel like that sometimes, that we talk about client retention over and over and over again. And sometimes I feel like, are we mentioning all the things that we really can talk about? So that's one of the reasons we're so excited to have you here to talk about your, obviously, area of expertise. But let's get into some of the retention resources that Cigna has for your agents. How do you come alongside the agents and help them if they don't have any experience at all?
One of the key resources that we have in place are our local broker sales managers. So they really work to understand the types of customers that different agencies are attracting, the plans that those customers prefer. They can also really help on collaborative initiatives around business development and marketing. But these resources, they're deeply trained on supplemental benefits. They understand all of the vendor information, key customer experience initiatives that we have in place. These resources specifically are dedicated to those external agents, the feet on the street. So would really encourage you to engage them, take advantage of their knowledge. And also, I hear a lot from these resources when we're not doing things right internally. So if you're experiencing pain points or you wish we were doing something better, these resources are a great channel to raise that feedback through, because they make sure it gets to the right people and that we're addressing that. But we also offer a lot of training and education programs. So we do a lot of virtual retention trainings. Our broker sales managers at the local level will host 15-minute pop in to learn trainings for agents where they can call in and learn about specific aspects of our plans. We put out a 5-part retention video series that are just short clips, 4 to 5 minutes, that are focused on key pieces of the customer journey and really what agents should be highlighting with customers and focused on at different points. And the last 2 things I'll mention, we've got a retention playbook out there that is a great resource, and then the agent resource guide overall. really encourage agents to kind of dig into. And then lastly is really around data and reporting. So we try to make it as transparent as possible how your book is performing, especially around key metrics. For example, we'll be measuring rapid disenrollments and sharing that information and working with agents where we identify opportunities. Because again, we're all winning if we're doing well in that area. So what will it take to improve? We don't have it all together. A lot of the things that we put in place have come from feedback that we hear from the street. And so, my email is blake.amos@cignahealthcare.com. I encourage you to send me feedback. What are we doing well? Where do we have opportunities? It can even just be general, how should carriers and agents be working together and collaborating more effectively to improve retention rates for everyone? Definitely welcome that feedback. We will take that to heart and try to implement new things, new tools that can help you succeed from a retention standpoint, especially with your Cigna book.
All right. Well, feedback, we always love feedback. And I love the fact that you guys take that into account and kind of grow solutions based on those pain points from how agents are actually dealing with things out in the field. Just want to take a quick moment to mention that those resources that Blake mentioned, we will have links to those resources in our episode notes. So the video clip series, the link to the playbook, and just all of those resources as they're available on Cigna's website, we will have those linked in the notes. So let's kind of drill down a little bit here. If I am an agent just starting out with client retention, it's a brand new topic to me. Maybe I'm brand new to the industry. Where would be the first place that you would suggest that I would start my efforts?
The point of sale is such an important piece of the retention journey. I know we talk a lot about the follow-ups, check-ins, and everything beyond that, but so much of whether we're going to be successful or not with a specific customer is based right there at the point of sale. I would encourage agents to really focus on how we listen to customers, making sure we're asking the right questions and really helping find the best plan for them. So, that comprehensive needs assessment is so critical, making sure that we know all of the doctors that they're going to, and we're confirming that those doctors are in network, that we understand their drugs. The last thing we want is for a customer to get into their first 90 days and then be surprised. And so when we think about rapid disenrollments, a lot of the things we see is their doctor isn't in network. We should be able to prevent that. I know that there's provider data issues, and sometimes that can be a challenge, but in general, we should be able to prevent that. We see a lot of they go get their first prescription fill and the dollar amount's not what they expected, or based on the formulary design, it's in a different tier than they expected. Those are the types of things that we can prevent on the front end by asking the right questions, by doing the full needs assessment, and even level setting with the customer on what's to come, understanding when they're going to get their ID card, their welcome kit, like what the important resources are for them to pay attention to. Because if you're a senior, especially during AEP, it's so noisy. You're receiving so much. So being able to cut through the noise is really important. Even again, at that point of sale, it can be the little things like collecting email addresses. If the plan has an email address, we can do a much better job at personalizing communications to customers, especially around some of those key supplemental benefits, getting a PCP selection at the point of sale for HMO customers so that they don't have to go through an auto assignment process and one of their first experiences being a negative experience. So those are some of the things that you can do, and especially to prevent rapid disenrollments, but really set the customer up to be successful. Anytime someone's making a purchasing decision, you want to get value from that. You want to get the customer activated and engaged with their health plan once they're effective. So start utilizing their benefits, seeing the value that they were sold on is really important. Those are some of the things I would recommend starting with, as you're focusing on customer retention and setting up customers to be successful.
I think those are some really good ideas. Now, to kind of shift to the other end of the spectrum, what if I'm already an agent that's been in the field for a while? I have been focusing on certain aspects of retention. How can I take that advice and then sort of elevate my efforts that I might currently be doing, whether it's, follow up, anything like that?
Yeah. So, and even kind of going back to, if you do a really good job on the front end and you listen well, you're asking the right questions, you understand what's important to the customer, then you can really help them maximize the value that they're getting out of their benefits. So, for example, if transportation is really important to a customer, we want to know that on the front end and make sure that they understand how many rides do they get? How do they contact the transportation vendor? Following up with them to make sure, especially that first experience went really well. And if not, escalate that to the plan and we will do everything possible to address that and make that right with the customer. Even beyond the most important benefits to a customer, thinking about some of the benefits, there's so many times, and I completely understand it. I do this with things I have, but they don't even realize what all they have in their plan. And so continuing to educate them and make sure that they're not leaving money on the table, that they're participating in the customer incentive programs or, maximizing the value that they're getting out of their supplemental benefits. I think those continued check-ins, education, helping activate their benefits will really take your efforts to the next level. And then being an expert on plan offerings in your area, which I'm sure most people are that are listening to this, but understanding how plans are changing each year, because that's only going to help you become that trusted resource for the customer. And they know that they can go to you and get, here's how other plans are changing. Here's how your plan's changing. Here's what that means for you. And then also, kind of hand in hand with that is managing the changing needs of customers. They come in on the front and need this based on their health conditions, where they're at in their journey, what's important to them. Those needs are going to continue to change. So staying in touch with that customer, understanding when they have life events that really impact them or new conditions diagnosed, those are important things to keep in mind and stay in connection with the customer so that you can ensure that they're in the right plan. And I think, as we're starting to see more in the industry, which is great, as far as tailoring plans to specific personas or different customer segments. And while I think that there's a lot of value in that, that can create some retention challenges as well, because customers can just in their journey, they come in and that's the right plan for them, but then they have life events and that's no longer. So being able to understand kind of what that full customer journey looks like and understanding that just because a customer fit that at the beginning is going to become more and more important as products become more and more tailored for specific customers. Also, anytime you can personalize communications with customers, I think that there's a lot of value. That's something that we're really focused on as a carrier is how do we be more personalized and tailored in our retention strategies. So would encourage agents to really focus on areas to improve there. And then also how we collaborate between the carrier and the agent. So we have a lot of resources available to the customers. You guys do a lot for the customers. How do we make sure that we're collaborating and creating the best experience for that individual customer? So I think those are some of the high points that I would hit as far as how agents can elevate their retention efforts.
Okay. Now I know that we have talked about a lot of different ways that agents can take away from this episode, things that they can put into practice. Is there anything new and exciting in the world of client retention? New strategies, new technology? I don't know if you guys are looking at anything with AI, but is there anything that you're particularly excited about when it comes to client retention right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe this starting point isn't too exciting, but I think that first of all, we should expect continued pressure from a switching standpoint in the industry. I know with the rate notices, the financial pressure that a lot of carriers have come out publicly discussing, I think we're going to see potential pullbacks in certain areas, and even the most minor pullbacks can cause customers to shop, rightfully so, which makes it even more important for them to have that trusted resource to walk them through that and understand what that really means for them. But I think that we're going to continue to see some pressure there, which means this is going to become more important. But what's exciting to your question is that I'm excited about Cigna has made a lot of investments, and I think a lot of our distribution partners are making a lot of investments around data science and analytics That's critical to helping us understand customer behaviors, their needs throughout the process. And if we're able to have that information at our fingertips, we can better tailor retention strategies for specific types of customers. So I'm excited about kind of those capabilities and what that opens up for us. I think to your point around AI, I think generative AI does seem promising, but I think that there is a lot more to learn around that. And we have invested a lot in our predictive modeling, which helps us know who to engage when. And really what I'm hoping for out of some of like the generative AI stuff is, really helping us know what messages are going to be impactful at what times, because I think we're good today at knowing who we need to engage based on some of that predictive modeling, but the message that's going to be effective, I think, is a challenge that we're still trying to overcome. And then kind of going back to some of the segmentation stuff I was talking about earlier, as more and more products are designed with a specific persona in mind, that dynamic segmentation ability kind of throughout the process to understand, if they came in a certain segment, where are they at throughout their journey? I'm excited about some of the investments and the focus being made there. That's not only helpful from an acquisition strategy standpoint, but will be critical for retention moving forward. And then the last thing I would say is the omni-channel engagement. I think any of our customers would say we really love direct mail, but how do we engage those customers more effectively in the way that they want to be communicated with? Because overall, I think the more that we can get personalized and improve our ability to tailor retention strategies based on the customer's needs and desires, we'll really be able to improve both our retention performance, but also the overall customer experience. So there's a lot I'm excited about here. And I think that plans and agents are making the right investments and focus in the right areas.
Right. I think one of my biggest takeaways probably from this conversation is just to remember that the client and where they are, that is kind of a fluid situation that's going to change over time. And to remember that just because you knew something when they first signed up, it's just like any other relationship that you have with anybody else. You need to continue with those ebbs and flows to continue taking in new information and kind of adjusting your approach. Is there anything else that you would like to add to our conversation today?
Appreciate you having me on. I always appreciate the opportunity to talk about retention, really bringing it back to the customer. But the way I would close is really focus on doing what's right for the customer. Have a relational mindset, be empathetic to these customers, understand the importance of the decisions that they're making, because these are very important decisions and we should be respectful towards that. And if you truly care about doing what's right for the customer, your retention is going to speak for itself and you're going to see great growth in your book, both new customers and better retention of your existing customers. And then the only other thing I'll call out again is continue to give us feedback. How can we be better partners to you? Is there something that we could be providing that would help you in your retention efforts? Is there something we should be doing better as a health plan that's giving your customers a better experience? That feedback is absolutely critical to us and we welcome it. So.
All right. Well, that sounds great, Blake. Thank you so much for coming on and answering all of our questions and really giving such great insight into how agents can take this concept of client retention and understand it in order to have it be of benefit to not just them, but especially their clients.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you guys and what you do and really appreciate the focus on retention. So great talking with you.
And now for our number one episode of the year, another interview episode. And again, very timely because it was a year of change and disruption. And another conversation with someone very experienced in the industry. Drum roll, please. Our conversation with Health Sherpa's Ross Baker, the key changes for ACA Open Enrollment 2025. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Health Sherpa? What is your official title?
Absolutely. So I am a senior agency account manager. What that means is I work with some of the larger FMOs and regional GAs, MGAs in the ACA space, really helping them navigate, getting their feedback around our platform and product, what improvements we should be looking to make, what type of enhancements we can make to ultimately make their agents and downline agencies more efficient, have better visibility into their client data, things along those lines. So I work with the agencies that I manage, as well as a number of their downlines. And then internally, I work very closely with Health Sherpa's agent support team and our product engineering, design, and data team.
So that's an interesting mix of technology on one side, but then on the other side, you have that relationship with the different FMOs. Can you tell us a little bit more, just for some of the agents who might be listening that aren't as familiar with the ACA side of things? What exactly is Health Sherpa?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Health Sherpa is actually the largest and fastest growing individual health coverage exchange in the United States. We help agencies and brokers simplify access to health plans for both the federal and, starting soon, state marketplaces. And really, in the simplest form, we're a marketplace where we've got agents on one side that are the demand side, bringing their clients that need to get enrolled in qualified health plans. And then we have the issuers or carriers on the other side that have the health plans that are waiting for people to get enrolled in.
Can you talk a little bit more about, for the agent side of things, how does an agent typically use Health Sherpa? What do they use Health Sherpa for? And maybe talk a little bit about the benefit for agents using Health Sherpa versus maybe another platform.
Sure. So Health Sherpa's core, I guess, value prop to agents and agencies is having a centralized location and platform to quote, enroll, and manage your ACA books of business. So if, depending how long people have been in the ACA space, they may remember the days when everything was written through healthcare.gov. The problem with healthcare.gov is it's designed from the ground up to be a consumer enrollment website. When the ACA launched, everybody thought people were just going to go onto healthcare.gov and buy health insurance on their own because it's such a simple product and the application is only 60 pages or whatever it is these days. So
it was a nice pipe dream, I think, but maybe not quite realistic.
Exactly. And so now that the ACA market's a little more mature and developed, we understand that I think last year is about 78% of all enrollments in the entire ACA are driven by agents and brokers. And that number has been going up exponentially the past few years here. Health Sherpa provides that kind of CRM or centralized database to manage all of your ACA clients, see all their statuses, what needs to be done, whether it's, completing binder payments or uploading documents on behalf of your clients, things like that. One of the key advantages to our specific application is we're able, through CMS approved changes, we're able to reduce the application page from about, I think it was 57 pages on healthcare.gov down to about 25 pages on Health Sherpa. That's mainly by just hiding unnecessary questions until they become necessary in creating a more dynamic application experience. That cuts the average enrollment time or time to complete an application on Health Sherpa down to about 7.5 minutes, where it's usually more like 20 to 25 minutes on healthcare.gov.
That is quite the difference when you're talking about that level of time. Even on the consumer side of things, simplifying it so that you're not going over all of those extraneous questions and things that maybe don't apply to them, that are only going to confuse them more than, simply going through the actual questions that are relevant.
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit about the benefit for agents, kind of what the platform looks like and how everything works on Health Sherpa. One of the things that you had mentioned, you had talked about the fact that Health Sherpa is an enhanced direct enrollment platform. Now, that is versus a direct enrollment platform. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two experiences, even a little more to how they've developed from what the original healthcare.gov experience used to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So as private entities started becoming involved with the quoting and shopping experience around healthcare.gov, I believe, I don't have the full history, but being in the industry and in the space, I've seen a lot of this, and direct enrollment entities were kind of the first version of being able to quote and have a shopping experience off of healthcare.gov. So this would be like Health Sherpa. I think Go Health had this version back in the day, some other sites. But you were able to run quotes, look at plans, and do what is typically referred to as a double redirect. These direct enrollment entities were kind of more prevalent and more valuable when double redirect was the only option.
Mm-hmm.
Which essentially meant that the agent would start the shopping experience on the direct enrollment site. They'd click out to go to healthcare.gov to actually complete the application and process the enrollment. And then depending on the direct enrollment entity, they may or may not be able to click back to that site and pull in the application data. The core difference when EDE was created in 2019 via CMS and some help from some innovative direct enrollment entities, including one of our founders here, EDEs are allowed to host the entire application experience right on their site or their web app. So instead of this kind of clunky, I'm on Health Sherpa, I go to healthcare.gov, do the app, come back. It's I'm on Health Sherpa, I'm quoting, I'm adding a plan to the cart, I'm doing the full application, and then I'm looking at follow-ups and next steps with my client and moving on to the next client. It's a much more seamless, streamlined experience.
Definitely less going back and forth, especially if a client is watching you do that. Okay, why is it going to this site now? Why are we coming back here? There's sometimes a little bit of mistrust involved with navigating away from a site like that, especially for something as important as when you're signing up for health insurance coverage.
Absolutely, yeah. As the agent, you're asking all these highly personal questions and getting all this very personal information to enter. You're kind of like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. With that, let's kind of move on to talk a little bit about open enrollment. Typically, the dates for open enrollment in those under 65 ACA plans, that begins on November 1st. This year, in addition to disruption in a lot of other places, we also have changes that are coming to the ACA open enrollment period. So can you talk a little bit about some of those changes that are coming and maybe the ones that agents more so need to be apprised of and what's going on and kind of why some of those changes are happening?
Yeah, so as I'm sure everybody has read the Notice of Benefit and Payment Parameters Final Rule for 2024.
It's captivating reading.
Yes, if you have not, what Sarah's referring to is the synchronized open enrollment date. So essentially, while CMS oversees all of the ACA to some extent, and the NBPP impacts all of the ACA, traditionally, states that have their own state-based exchange can have a little leeway in how they operate, when they operate, things like that. This latest round kind of said, well, we want you to, at a minimum, be open from November 1st to January 15th. And if individual states that operate their own exchange want to expand those dates or have longer OEPs, that's fine. But they're hoping that that's the minimum established OEP dates.
Right. And I know that was always fun trying to keep agents apprised of at least the start date was usually the same, but then you had some that were ending on the 15th, you had some that were ending on the 31st. And then you have to talk about when your coverage is actually going to begin based on when you sign up. There's a little bit of confusion around all of that. You at least have that date range. Hopefully, that'll take away some of that confusion. One of the other things that I had noticed as we were going through those changes, the difference now in re-enrollment requirements for clients who have catastrophic coverage. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this one was kind of new to me, but historically, is it correct that catastrophic coverage did not passively renew previously?
I do not think that it did previously.
That would make sense because the new rule is stating that catastrophic coverage will now have a passive renewal for the next plan year into another qualified health plan. And if that client or member is no longer eligible for catastrophic coverage, it's going to put them into a plan with the same carrier at, I believe it's the same network type, but kind of the lowest level coverage. So likely a bronze plan. If you do have a book of business on catastrophic plans, it's something that probably is a relief that you're not having to actively renew all of these clients, but
Mm-hmm.
also B, something you want to watch as they're aging out of eligibility for those plans. It's probably a shopping opportunity to get them into a better plan than just the lowest cost bronze.
Right. And I think it makes sense. A lot of the rules and changes that we saw this year and even the past couple of years is really to maintain coverage as much as possible so that people aren't losing coverage, having to go without coverage, or being surprised to find that they're without coverage. Even if notices, things like that have been sent, that seems to be very much so a priority of the administration right now. And that actually leads us very nicely into the next change. This is one that was an SEP that was established through the Inflation Reduction Act. Can you talk a little bit about the federal poverty level SEP extension that passed with our most recent round of legislation?
Absolutely. So the FPL SEP is essentially if any member or household is 150% or below the FPL and eligible to enroll in ACA coverage, they're going to have essentially a year-round SEP. And so when we look at states that have not expanded Medicaid, generally, that's going to be households from the 100 to 150% of the FPL are going to be eligible for this year-round SEP, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Medicaid expanded states, it's usually going to be about 138% to 150% of the FPL will be eligible to A, enroll in ACA, and B, for this FPL SEP that's now been extended in perpetuity and is really just part of the ACA.
Right. Kind of raising the floor from where it previously was.
Yes. I think, when we talk about this year-round SEP, there's a number of people that like it, but then there's also somewhat of a valid argument that it's a little excessive and maybe is driving a lot of the unauthorized plan switching that the ACA has seen grow in the past few years here. So I've heard many people equate it to when D-SNPs were first introduced into the Medicare space. They had every single month, and there was a lot of plan switching and brokers fighting over clients. And then they kind of rolled it back step by step to quarterly, and it kind of subsided a lot of that plan switching and arguing over clients and people getting enrolled in a new plan every month, which probably honestly is not what the consumer needs.
No, when you really think about ongoing care, that's the idea is for a member to go into a plan and really experience care over the course of time rather than switching, on a monthly basis. The idea is for really that switch to be able to be there should something come up, that they're able to get coverage for things they need as their issues come up. But the interesting thing is that with the D-SNP population, you've seen a lot of looking at plan availability and the different lookalike plans. That's something that I remember from last year that they were trying to cut down on some of or what they said were access plans in the ACA to kind of reduce the amount of plans people had to choose from because it seemed like it was almost unnavigable on your own versus if you actually had an agent helping you.
Yeah, there's definitely been some work to get more what they call standardized plans, which are actually these plans that, from a cost sharing standpoint, are exactly the same for each metal tier, but the premium is different depending on how the carrier rates it.
Right.
CMS has introduced some requirements to have more of those standardized plans. I think this year it's 2 per metal tier. That's potentially going to continue to increase as the years progress here as well. Yeah, the goal, like you mentioned, is really to minimize the overload of choice, so to speak, when there's 150, 200 plans available in a given market. So
Right. Choice is great. We are all for choice. But when there are that many that kind of have very negligible differences between them, then it becomes really difficult for a consumer to figure out what do I actually want to enroll in, what's going to be the plan that's the best fit. Now, when you were talking about the SEP extension, you had mentioned that the thought there was on one side that it would curb some of that unauthorized plan switching. Can you talk about that for a little bit? Because I feel like that's something that we heard a lot about. There were a lot of changes made to the enrollment process as well to kind of cut down on the potential for those fraudulent switches to take place.
yeah, sure. So I think when we talk about unauthorized plan switching is CMS's official term for what a lot of agents will refer to as rogue agents or bad agents stealing their clients. I always think it's important to make a distinguishment here, though, between unauthorized plan switching, which essentially equates to fraud, enrolling somebody without their consent, versus authorized plan switching, which is more of competitiveness between agencies and agents where agent is actually going out and earning the business, taking the proper compliance steps to document consent and client review, having a needs-based conversation and analysis with that client, in enrolling them in potentially a better plan option. From what we see, the vast majority of the plan switching going on in the ACA was much more the latter, where the actual, what I would call a non-consensual enrollment, is much more in the 1% range across the industry. A lot of it just ends up being agents fighting over this client is mine to some extent. But the big thing, because of some of the national attention in the media that this gained the ACA, which was not anyone wanted, was this negative attention around unauthorized plan switching. CMS had to act, and they had to act quickly. And that's when they introduced the invalid action error. So this is that CMS change they made. I think it was July 17th or somewhere around there.
I believe it was over the summer.
Yes, I remember because I was on vacation at the Oregon coast, and all
That's
of a
how
sudden
it works.
every one of my accounts started calling myself. And essentially what they did was CMS blocked any NPN switches across all EDE platforms without warning, really. To stop unauthorized plan switching, they effectively stopped all plan switching. As most people probably know right now, the only option if you're trying to change the NPN associated with an application is to engage the client and get them on a three-way call with the marketplace and complete that call. So,
Right. And that leads to some very, I'm sure, interesting conversations if you are needing to have the agent of record on the line with a new agent who is trying to change the plan of someone who the agent of record didn't even realize was potentially shopping for a different plan or any of that. But then that goes back to what you were saying about those authorized plan switches.
exactly. Yeah. So it's, what happened with this system change by CMS is a lot of consumers got locked into a plan or an agent or a plan and an agent that they didn't want to be locked into or didn't even know they had at times. And
Right.
so we've got quality agents that are saying, okay, somebody stole my client in June and now they're locked in and I have to do a three-way call with the marketplace to get my client back, essentially. So there's been a lot of growing pains over the past 2.5 months here. I will say that CMS and Health Sherpa are working on getting a EDE solution on Health Sherpa, where instead of doing a three-way call with the marketplace, the agent will engage the consumer via a consumer enrollment link. And we're hoping that there's more news on that in the first half of October here in getting that officially approved by CMS and live on Health Sherpa.
Yeah, that would certainly be nice because I'm sure if you're writing majority ACA business and you need to go through and meet with any of these clients for reviews or anything like that, and you have a bulk of clients that need to switch, that is a lot of phone calls that you're potentially going to have to make in order to get those switches to happen and get that coverage effective date for when the client actually needs it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of concern already with the marketplace's ability to handle call volume during open enrollment, what renewals are going to look like for agents and agencies with larger books of business, things along those lines. So,
Right. Still sounds like a little bit to work out there, but hopefully you guys will get that figured out and approved, and then that will be something even better to be able to incentivize people towards Health Sherpa for this fall. Is there anything else new or exciting coming to Health Sherpa for plan year 2025?
definitely, I would say one of the most exciting new developments in the space is Georgia is becoming a state-based exchange officially on 11/1. They're going to be, so this past year they were state-based, but using the federal platform or healthcare.gov. So that's where the state does some marketing and operations, but ultimately they still rely on healthcare.gov and the federal systems for enrollment and reconciliation. Georgia Access has actually decided to be the first state-based exchange to be fully integrated with enhanced direct enrollment partners. So Health Sherpa is one of those partners. We're fully integrated with the Georgia state-based marketplace. It's going to be pretty much exactly the same experience that agents have right now when it comes to shopping, quoting, and doing the application. Really, the only difference is that application, when you submit it, is going to go to Georgia Access instead of the federal marketplace. From an agent standpoint, agents do need to do the Georgia Access state-based certification in order to be ready to sell in the state of Georgia. Outside of that, as long as you're licensed and appointed and all the things you generally need to write business in the ACA, you'll be ready to go and write business for Georgia via Health Sherpa.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And that's something that you guys are kind of planning on watching to see how that process goes. Could we see that potentially modeled for other states in the future?
That is the hope. Yes. So when you look at really the high level data around growth in the ACA, probably dating back about the past. When you really dive into the data, you can see that the majority of growth is happening on the FFM. And more specifically, it's happening on the FFM through agent and brokers that are using ED platforms, the majority of which are using Health Sherpa. And when we look at some of the state-based exchange growth, some states are either flat, or in the case of Kentucky, I think a couple years there, they lost membership. But overall, state-based exchanges are more in the single-digit growth, where, states like Texas, Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida, they're looking at more than 2x growth over the past 4 years for many of those states. So.
Okay, well, that's exciting to think that not only are we modeling something here that could potentially go to other states, but also that the experience that you are providing for consumers is more effective and is driving more enrollments than other options that individuals have.
Yeah, and like I said, it all comes back to the agents and their needs. I went to an event with Georgia NABIP and Georgia Access earlier this year and had agents in the state of Georgia that were saying, hey, we told the state we have to have Health Sherpa because that's what we use to write ACA. And if you are creating state-based marketplace, you need to allow Health Sherpa to connect because that's just what we use and how we do business. And I know a lot of the larger agencies and organizations that account for a significant amount of enrollments in the ACA are sometimes not participating in all the state-based marketplaces, just like back to what we mentioned earlier with keeping up with the open enrollment dates. Most state-based exchanges have their own state-based certification. There's all these moving pieces to selling in all these different exchanges. Being able to have one unified experience for the agent that ultimately is the one that holds the relationship with the consumer is really the key to, helping maintain that level of growth that we want to see in the ACA.
Right. That's pretty cool that you have agents advocating for use of your platform as they're advocating for their own clients. Very cool to hear about that happening.
With that, we are at the end of our list. But remember, that is not the limit of our content library. We do keep a content archive that goes back a full calendar year. So if you're new to the podcast, there are plenty of episodes that are still relevant. So you can go back and pick and choose which ones you would like to listen to. Just want to take a moment to say thank you for listening to our show today. If you like what you heard, please consider following along with the Agent Survival Guide podcast for updates. For those of you already following along with our show, consider sharing it with a friend in the industry. And thank you so much for your support. It might be the last Friday 5 of 2024, but we've got plenty more to come in 2025. Until then, though, I hope you have a great weekend. Stay healthy and stay safe out there. And we will see you next week. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. This episode was written and produced by me, Sarah Ruppel. Script editing and fact check by Tina Lamoureux. Podcast design by Urban Rivera. Artwork by Vivian Zhao. Follow along with us wherever you like to listen.